With midterms only 83 days away, the Democrats are desperate for something good that they can campaign on. And so we have the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 set to be on the president's desk today for signing into law. Finally, the Democrats have something good that they can campaign on. Or do they? Will the Inflation Act actually do what they think it's going to do? Who knows? Let's talk about it today on yesterday's news. Hey everyone, my name is Mr. Constitution. I'm just an average dude trying to figure out what the heck our government is up to. And I hope you'll stay with me today as we talk about this Inflation Act, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. So, Democrats are basically trying to do something about the rampant inflation that we have right now. And they want to do this before the midterms so that they can say, hey, look what we did to make your life easier. But will it really make your life easier? Let's find out. So, Congress.gov is a place where we can go to find out what exactly is going on in our government. Or is it? Yeah. Here's the thing. This bill is 273 pages long. I have not read this bill. No one has read this bill. No one reads 273 pages of legal stuff. Your senator, your representative, is not reading this bill. They're paying an intern to read it and tell them about it. So we're going to look at a bit of a summary and some other things to see if we can figure out what's going on. But first, before we get started, please, if you like this content, hit that like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates. I really appreciate it. So, inflation is basically the increase of the cost of goods over time, typically caused by an increase in the supply of money. So right now, average inflation is at 8.5% over a year. That means on average, a year ago, that means that on average, from last year, everything costs about 8.5% more. So if you paid $1 for something in 2021, you're paying $1.08 or $1.09 for that same good. So your money is actually losing value because it doesn't have the purchasing power that it had. And so this act is meant as a way to reduce that, to curb in inflation, pull that down. Now, there's always going to be a little inflation, so you're never going to get no inflation, and economists will go into all kinds of different explanations of all the complicated things with the economy, because our economy is complicated, life is complicated, and so we try to control it by passing bills in our Congress, but I don't think it's going to do as well as they say. So let's get into this summary of H.R. 5376, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. So, let's see what we're going to do. Deficit reduction from the Committee on Finance. So this is a portion of the bill created by the Committee on Finance. Deficit reduction. I'm for this. Let's reduce the deficit. How are we going to reduce the deficit? By taxing. Not by cutting spending, by taxing. The bill imposes an alternative minimum tax of 15% on average, blah, 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 beginning in taxable years starting after December 31st of this year. So we're going to raise taxes on corporations. Cool. I know a lot of people think that's a good idea, but here's the thing. Taxing corporations taxes people, because corporations don't really pay taxes. They just pass that along in the cost of their goods to their customers. In the end, all tax comes from the people. You can say you're taxing companies, but you're taxing people, because companies are just going to raise their prices to account so they can pay taxes. So ultimately, the end user is the one paying that tax. Taxes always come from the people. There's no avoiding that. Excise tax on the repurchase of corporate stock. Cool, we're taxing corporations again. A 1% excise tax on stock buybacks is basically what this means. So if a company wants to buy back some of their stock, they have to pay tax on that. Okay, 1%. 1% increase. Okay, cool. Again, coming from people. Funding the Internal Revenue Service. We're gonna give the government more money to tax us. How messed up is that? So all the money that the government has, they get from us, right? So they tax us and take the money that they taxed us with, give it to the people who collect taxes so that they can collect more taxes. You know, I've heard estimates that they could be hiring 87,000 more employees over at the IRS. Now, not all of those are going to be tax agents, but still, 87,000 more people. Our government grows ever. Always growing is our government. You know, what's crazy to me, did you know there was a time in our country when there was no income tax? In fact, for the first 140 years of our nation, there was no income tax. What that means is that when you negotiated with your employer how much you got paid, that's how much you actually took home. How awesome would that be? So if you got paid $15 an hour, your paycheck reflected that. There wasn't a portion taken out of your check. There wasn't a portion taken out of your check and given to the government without it even going to your hands. It just goes to the government now. So think about that. If 10% of your check goes to the government, which it's more. Look at your pay stub. It's more. But if 10% of your check goes to the government, that literally means that 10% of your time every day that you're working you're working for the government. You're working for the government. That's what taxation is. It's especially an income tax. You're working for the government. They're literally taking the produce of your labor for themselves. And then they spend it however they want to spend it. Why we have an income tax is insane to me. It's a progressive thing that was created in the early 20th century, and we should not be doing it. We should not be taxing income. It's ridiculous and wrong. So, okay, cool. So we're taxing corporations more, and we're giving more money to the IRS to collect more of our money. Cool, yeah. This all sounds like it will totally reduce inflation. Totally going to reduce inflation. Because this is definitely going to cut short, take some money, reduce the money supply. This is totally going to do that. Totally going to do that. Lowering prices through price negotiation, prescription drug prices. Cool. Medicare is going to start negotiating prices. Don't they do that already? Oh, wait, yeah, they do. Here's the thing. When the government negotiates, here's how the government negotiates. We're going to pay this much. The government comes to a drug manufacturer and says, we're going to pay you this much. That's how the government negotiates, because they have guns. Because the government just says, yep, this is what we're going to pay. That's how they negotiate. And here's the best part about this. Here's the best part. You ready for it? So the bill requires the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to negotiate prices for certain prescription drugs under Medicare beginning in 2026. 4 years from now, they have to start negotiating. 4 years. Oh man, that's really going to help inflation now. We're doing so good with inflation right now. We are killing inflation. Because in 4 years, we're going to tell drug companies how much we're going to pay them for their drugs. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Oh, hey, here we go. Here we go. Part two of this subsection. Prescription drug inflation debate rebates. Oh, so we're going to start requiring drug manufacturers to issue rebates to the CMS for brand name drugs without generic equivalents. So you're not getting the rebate, the government's getting the rebate. This will totally fix inflation, guys. Improvements for maximum out-of-pocket stuff. Okay, so cool. Medicare beneficiaries, they're going to have to pay less. When is this going to start here, I wonder? Let's see. Out-of-pocket in 2025. So, here we go. The bill eliminates beneficiary cost sharing above the annual out-of-pocket spending threshold under the Medicare prescription drug benefit beginning in 2024 and caps the annual out-of-pocket spending at $2,000 in 2025. It also establishes a program under which drug manufacturers provide discounts to beneficiaries who have incurred costs above the annual deductible beginning in 2025. 3 years. Yep, totally going to fix inflation now, guys. Totally. Oh, it also provides funds through fiscal year 2031 for the CMS to implement these changes. Cool. Yep. This is just great, guys. We're just kicking butt on it. Kicking inflation's butt, guys. We're doing awesome. Come on. That's freaking ridiculous. Freaking ridiculous. Okay, miscellaneous stuff. Oh, Affordable Care Act subsidies? Oh, well, that's totally going to fix inflation. Energy security? Yep, we're totally going to force down some green energy because that'll fix inflation. Awesome. Yeah, do it. Okay, so now here's a section of the bill from the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry. You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. The Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry is going to help us reduce inflation. Totally. Next section is from the Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs. Okay, this might have something to do with inflation. What are they going to do? They provide funding for coastal committees, coastal and marine habitats, weather forecasting, and aviation technology? What's that going to do for inflation? Maybe some, I don't know. Who the heck knows what's going on here? Who knows what's going on in this bill? All right. Title 5, from the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources. Okay, cool. General purpose. This bill provides funding for the Department of Energy for a variety of programs concerning energy rebates, energy efficiency in buildings, electric transmissions, advanced industrial facilities, and other energy matters. Oh, yeah, that's totally gonna help inflation. Yeah, come on, guys. Listen, we called it the Inflation Reduction Act, so it's gonna fix inflation. Yeah, totally gonna fix inflation, guys. Totally gonna fix inflation. So I'll leave a link in the description of this video for this page if you want to look at it in more detail, which I recommend you do. I have looked at this more. It's more of the same. It's all a bunch of garbage. Nothing here seems to me that will actually be addressing inflation. We're not cutting how much money we're not drastically cutting how much money we're spending. We're not cutting back on how much money we're printing. We are in this problem because we're spending money like crazy. The national debt has exploded since 2008, and we're doing nothing about it. We're not cutting back on spending. That's our problem, because you can only tax so much but we are just spending money like crazy. One last thing. So let's look at numbers. So let's look at let's look at the figures. Let's look at what's actually happening. Okay. So here we're going from Wikipedia. I apologize, not the greatest source, but I mean, when it comes to figuring out what the government's doing, no sources are great. So here we have some revenue created by this bill, money that the government is going to be taking in. These are all estimates. We have no idea what's actually going to happen. The prescription drug price reforms and lower prices, you're looking at $265 billion. The increased minimum tax rate on companies, they're looking at $222 billion. Increased tax enforcement, $203 billion from being better at collecting taxes, and imposing the excise tax, 1% excise tax on stock buybacks, $74 billion. Cool. So what are we going to spend all that money on? Let's find out. Addressing energy security and climate change. Okay, $369 billion. Not sure how that's reducing inflation, but okay. Deficit reduction, $300 billion. So over the course of 10 years or so, whatever the length of this bill is, $300 billion. That is a drop in the bucket. It's not even a drop in the bucket. That's nothing. Our deficit spending is insane right now. Continuing 3 more years of expansion of the Affordable Care Act subsidies, $64 billion. Funding for drought resiliency in Western states, $4 billion. Again, what does that have to do with inflation? Who knows? Increased funding for the IRS, modernization and increased tax enforcement, $80 billion. So we're going to spend $80 billion on the IRS, and we're going to get back an estimated $203 billion. Sure, that's what's going to happen. As part of the investment in clean energy, the bill would extend solar investment credits for 10 years. The bill contains provisions which would cap insulin costs at $35 a month and out-of-pocket costs at $2,000 for people on Medicare. So that's $35 a month for insulin if you're on Medicare. So this is what I mean by negotiation. Okay, the government tells you how much they're going to pay. Several provisions in the initial deal between Schumer and Manchin changed, blah, blah, blah. Here's the best part. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimated that the bill would have no statistically significant effect on inflation. The Penn-Wharton budget model also estimated that the bill would have no significant impact on inflation. Then there's a few other places that say, hey, yeah, this will affect inflation. Hey, this is a great stuff. Who the heck knows? Who knows? Who knows? I'm telling you, people, our government is out of control, and we are at its mercy, but we have only ourselves to blame because we elect these people. So, I don't know if you found that helpful. There's a lot going on in this bill. I encourage you to read more. Don't take my word for it. Look at the bills. I'll put the links in the description. But yeah. So if you like this video and found it interesting and want to see more, please smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can get notified when I put new content up. Please like and share with your friends and help me grow the channel. I'd appreciate it. Thanks, guys, and we will talk to you next time.